all for being here on such a special day. I know it means the world to all of those involved, myself included. For those of you who don't know me personally, my name is Brittany, and I have had the great pleasure of being one of his close friends for about 25 years now. I've never been quite keen on scripted speeches, so I left what little I did have on the plane, so forgive me. But I've always really liked stories, so I figured I would start there, as I thought most people would as well. I remember when Leigh first told me about her friend Alex, who worked at the church. I was sitting in a storage unit packing for Europe, and I sat down in a box full of shoes and listened as she told me about this boy with a sweet smile and a kind heart who played guitar, as all splendid love stories seem to start with a boy and his guitar. So she went on for about 2 hours. It was lovely until I realized that the storage unit had closed and I was locked inside. But nevertheless, Alex sounded wonderful, and I was impressed, and my lovely friend was smitten and has been ever since. So Leigh has always been very special to me, and we've had a lot of time to spend together over the years. And growing up in small towns in Massachusetts, we'd play together often, and on one particular day my parents had sold the house and were getting ready to move, and were mowing the lawn, or as I was calling it on this day, killing my flower garden. So in her typical fashion of endless support, Leigh agreed to run around the yard madly with me, saving each flower and weed from imminent death by lawnmower. And at the end of the day, I remember we were walking up the hill to the house, and I looked at her, and in my 8-year-old head, I thought after I moved, I would never see her again. And this made me very sad. So, though dramatic, I thought, without Leigh, I just won't ever be happy again. So in retrospect, that was one of my earliest memories of childhood, and fortunately I was wrong about not ever seeing her again, as nearly every other memory contains her as well. So we've had quite a few play dates. Some involved climbing into the bathtub together and teaching her how to shave her legs when we were both way too young. Vicky was really upset. Another, we didn't want to say goodbye yet, so rather than let each other leave the play date, we decided to take every book off the bookshelf of what my mother had just alphabetized and barricade ourselves into my bedroom. So we did stop to say goodbye. It was just much more tearful than anticipated. Not every play date was so intense or rambunctious as you can imagine, as our friendship has become quite intimate and deep over the years. And during one particular sleepover, we graduated the conversation to boys and what we wanted in an ideal partner. And we began making a list, actually, that I actually left in my purse. But this turned into a notebook that was obnoxiously purple and sparkling. But mine was quite binary and included things like cuddling and skydiving and puppies. Well, these, in retrospect, always very much defined Alex. And this notebook began in 2001 and actually got passed between us for now 14 years. So it's been a long time coming, and was passed under the promise that it was never to be mentioned unless at one's wedding. So, yeah. When Leigh and Alex first got engaged, I asked him quite sincerely what his intentions were for their marriage and what he loved about Leigh and their friendship and partnership and their romance. And his response actually brought me back to when her and I were little girls again in Massachusetts picking those flowers. He conveyed that her presence in his life was an integral part of his source of joy. And as we walked back to the car, his last sentence was, "She's exactly who I've always wanted in a partner and a spouse and a friend." And this just made my whole heart smile as I remembered the boy book that we had been writing in for over a decade, and I realized that Alex, too, was very much exactly the person that Leigh has always wanted in a partner and a spouse and a best friend. So Alex, as someone who has had a great portion of her past, I can only imagine how incredibly blessed you both are going to be, loving and cherishing each other in the most special ways we were able to this side of heaven. So with that said, I wish you more love and life and joy today and each day going forward. So with that said, please raise your glasses. Cheers and congratulations and thank you.
Let's go for Brittany. Next is Brian Zuniga. Just sit down. Where's your